Are you doing anything from the AI optimization that you think is impactful for your customers today that'll have long-term impact?
So we've got two tools that we use now. We've got two partnerships, one that we're using for AI audits, and then we also have another partner that's doing AI content. So those are the two things that are really going well with us. And we are seeing with the ROI part of it. So I think one of our clients, it was all the way up to, I think ChatGPT was all the way up to, I think it was like number 7 in traffic and revenue for them. And then Perplexity was like number 12, and Gemini was like number 17. So yeah, we're definitely seeing really great results.
We've been doing content marketing for years, before it became a popular thing. But instead of spending all the time researching, going through all these pages on Google and trying to find the right information and verifying it, ChatGPT, Perplexity, those kind of tools help us gather that data much more efficiently.
We want to ask the engine when they're about ready to say, what are some good recommendations for some brands that do XYZ, that solve my XYZ problem? We're taking 10 of those non-brand prompts, sending that out to the engines, and then seeing who is playing in the space when they get recommended at that point. And then from there, how high up on that list are you recommended? And it actually does give us the ability to start to quote unquote rank how probable your brand is at being recommended in the top 10. Now, wrapping up all back up, have we been able to take, snapshots from the beginning, the middle, and the end and show ROI to our clients? If we were able to do that right now, we would be killing the industry. No one can do that yet. It's way too new.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of SEO On Air. We have today with us 3 great guests. I'm going to give you each a chance to introduce yourselves. Starting in my top left corner, David, you're on the top left here. Give me a quick intro to who you are and why you're here on the podcast with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ko. So my name is David Lewallen. I am the head of AI and search visibility for Verbatim Digital. Um, been in the industry for, almost 2 decades. Started as SEO, worked at some of the top agencies in San Diego, and have started a new agency. We do everything now. Paid search, social, SEO, content, video, basically just trying to survive in this AI world. And we just launched a new AI visibility tracking tool. So we're excited about that.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah. So my name is Andrew Cao, co-owner of Matoza. I founded this with my business partner back in 2011. We started with just SEO, and then we added SEM and social ads years after that, just based on demand and what our clients needed. The interesting part of our company is that my background is actually in computer science. That's why I graduated UT Austin in. And my business partner, he graduated in radio, film, TV, as well as a master's in marketing. And so you can imagine it's like the left side and the right side of our brain, and us combining like our knowledge and our skill sets. And so that was an interesting combination. And things, like David said, it's very interesting in this year of AI. So yeah, just looking forward to seeing what everybody else has to add to it.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Andrew. And Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm the managing director at Renaissance Digital. We started off as an SEO only agency, and my background's in SEO. Then over the years, we kind of became full service, slowly but surely. And then now we're kind of niching back into kind of our core, especially with AI search now and SEO being such an exciting industry. We're focusing more on just search marketing these days. Obviously SEO and AI search with SEM, a close cousin to SEO. And then our big kind of focus for 2026 is digital PR as well, with AI search and taking away the kind of most important things you needed with PR, with a specific link, with exact anchor text, etc. And with AI search just needing brand visibility unlinked, digital PR is a big focus of ours right now.
Awesome. I think that it's not that common for us to have agencies that are so aligned in how they expanded from SEO as the initial product to multiple services. So this will be great. I'm going to ask a question to the group. I know we've discussed this briefly like as individuals, but I want to open it up on the podcast here. What's one thing that you wish you had done earlier when building your agency? Knowing that you all started with SEO and expanded it, there's some lessons learned along the way. Share some lessons with the rest of us. Teach us what you know.
So I didn't learn this till years after when we hired a business coach, but I wish one of the first things that we did when we started our agency in 2011 was just laying out all the processes and systems, because that makes it makes things a lot easier when bringing in people to help do the work and to do it the way we want it to do. So I wish we implemented it sooner than later. It would have streamlined things a lot faster. But now things are, it's always a work in progress. Systems and processes change based on, the environment and, whatever needs to be done. But yeah, that'd be my suggestion on, if I were to talk to my former self.
That's how I like to phrase that question. Like, if you were to go back to yourself when you first started your agency, maybe, what would you warn yourself about?
Yeah, my 20-year-old self.
Not investment cheating or anything like that, but how to make the agency better. Yeah. David and Doug, what are your thoughts?
I can go next. So I think definitely delegating. I think for too long I did all of the SEO work myself. As we expanded from SEO to full service, I continued to do SEO for a long time. And now that we have a team of SEO people, our SEO is stronger than ever, because not only can I kind of oversee the SEO and kind of give them the things that I'm strongest with, which is probably strategy and on page. But now we have, someone who's just very strong at local SEO, someone who's very strong at technical SEO. So it just creates a full team that's very good. And a lot of what they do is better than what I can do now. So I think delegating, frees up my time to really focus on the overall business, which is great. And I can just trust that they'll do a great job for the clients.
Awesome. Both of those are absolutely would have been my first 2 points as well. But I think as a third point, to really kind of build this stool, this three-legged stool, I wish that I had started. It's like that whole thing that we all know and have heard, right? The cobbler's children never have any shoes, right? Well, marketing agencies really need to work on marketing themselves, and starting that from the beginning. And we always just don't have enough time, and we're inundated with our client work. So that seems to be on the back burner. Now I'm seeing, okay, it's time to really grow. And man, if I had, you know, 15 years ago, I started a different agency, went back into the uh, agency world as an employee after it didn't work out. But had I started marketing then and just writing blog posts and doing what I know works, which is SEO and content creation, building links, I mean, can you imagine 15 years later where we would be? So that would be my third piece of advice there.
And David, can you shoot me your AI visibility tracking tool? I want to check it out.
You can just go online. It's verbatimdigital.com, and there's a link right there. Pretty hopefully easy to convert from that page. If I've done my job right.
It's funny that you mentioned, working on your own company. We pretty much put ourselves on the back burner as well in the first few years. And it was something like, hey, we got to work on this client, and all this effort has to be on the client. And we want to do a good job, but then we just by the end of the day, end of the project or whatever, we're like, oh man, we're just exhausted. We'll just do that tomorrow. And years later, we're like, oh shit, we never got to it. And so it wasn't until we considered Matoza as our own client, like we created like our own project folder with all the notebooks and tasks related to it, and you treat it like a client so that you're involved as if they were a client. So that really helped us.
Absolutely.
Doug and David, do you treat your own agency as a client for your own marketing efforts?
We do not, but we should. I kind of handle all of that since we are delegating most of the day-to-day work. But I tend to see myself leaning more towards my strengths again, which are SEO, and shying away from things that might move faster, like Google ads or things like that. So um, yeah, that's something I've actually been currently debating, is if we should just have our team run those things. And I'm only doing client meetings and things like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, that is the goal. Is it happening exactly like that right now? No, but that is the goal, and I need to get a little bit better at that. And that basically just means I need to become the customer for my team and set up meetings like, okay, every month, we're going to you're going to check in with me just like you would any other client. Show me the numbers. What have we done? Let me poke holes. So that needs to be implemented, I would say, definitely before the end of the year.
That's a common question. I'm going to stray a bit from like the questions that I had written down here because I like where this is going. We regularly with agencies on have the discussion of how do you market yourself? And majority of the time it's strictly they work through word of mouth. So based on your experience, how much of your agency growth is due to word of mouth and how much of it is due to lead gen that you've actually produced yourself? I'm curious to hear from all of you about how you're growing.
I would say the majority is word of mouth, referrals, just making local connections, as well as recently, I've been really pushing heavily on LinkedIn. Just telling people about me. Because the thing I've realized is that people want to work with people and not just businesses. And so LinkedIn marketing, at least in the organic sense, it's coming from my profile, not Matosa's. And so anyhow, just doing that as well as some SEO and paid search, but I would say the majority of our business is from referrals.
Yeah. We just did a big launch and a big at a conference. That's where our marketing budget went this year. And I gotta say, it feels so hypocritical, to be honest, to be an SEO, paid search, content, and push that on my clients all day in and out. And then when I get ready to put my money where my mouth is, I go offline and do straight up old school uh, conference marketing. We got a booth. But I think, and that's really actually starting to help me to shift into this AI world, because based on what we're seeing from the data from our tool is, and we're able to see a lot more because we're pulling so much data into the tool, and we're able to see, okay, who's doing better, whose visibility score, and we have this sort of proprietary score. And I'm not trying to sell this tool. It really does help, I think, to answer this question. Um, it really is showing that the people that invested in marketing as a whole over the course of the last 10 years are the ones that are winning in AI search. And, to Doug's point, that's all based on a lot of it PR. A lot of it is just based off of years and years of SEO backbone, that just being the backbone there. And then offline, I'm talking billboard. I think the whole world is now kind of able to understand. I think that's what, and I got this from Michael Farr from a LinkedIn connection I've been making recently. But he had a great point. It was this new like AI visibility is really kind of like bringing to the forefront all of the years of marketing that these brands have put in that they were never ever to measure before. But now it's kind of like shining a light, not just on SEO, not just on PR, which I agree with you, Doug. Those are where the the bullseyes are. But I also think there's a halo effect from everything that these big brands have been doing, because when you look at who's recommended number one when you type in, can you recommend some brands for X? It's always the big players, pretty much, one, two, three, four, where you would think. And how do what's the testament to that? And so I think it's just really shining a light on marketing as a whole. So bringing that back to the question, I was like, how do you start a brand? You can't just like start producing content from a zero and expect that in 2-3 months you're going to start bringing in leads. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 years you're going to build that up and have a site that actually works and can compete in the world. But you got to start small. And to me, it was in person. To Andrew's point, shaking hands, kissing babies, bringing the bringing out the brand, and them being able to say, okay, you're at a conference. you have this conference is well known, it's well understood that this is, leaders come here, you do a couple of talks, and that just kind of gets the sort of starts the engine, like a lawnmower pulls that cord. And then you can start to get your socials up, then you can start to build the content. And I think you got to just keep doing that quarter in and quarter out and just look at the long haul for something like this.
Yeah, the funny thing is with AI, people are going back to traditional marketing and craving that human aspect of it because people are like, oh, that content is obviously AI. Look at those long dashes. Look at those emojis that are just being spammed. And people are like, I don't want to hear that. I actually want to talk to a human. I want to read what a human says. So all that content marketing, all the traditional marketing that you've done or established as a foundation years ago, it's going to help you.
Yeah, and back to the original question, yeah, I definitely have noticed that the more that we've kind of unniched, I think when we were, original focus was e-commerce SEO, and the referrals seemed to come a lot, faster when that's what we were known for. Then when we decided to unniche, started adding other services, and then we were full service for e-commerce, and then with the iOS 14 update, I got nervous on the entire e-commerce industry, so we started testing out other industries as well, and the entire Tampa market. But it seems like referrals are definitely stronger, the more niched and focused you are. So that's another big reason I'm more focused on, our niche and focusing more on search marketing right now. And then potentially we might focus on just one industry within search marketing or just digital PR, or just SEO and AI search. We'll see what 2026 brings, but that's a big part of referrals is people want to know, like, you're the, AI visibility guy, you're the Austin SEO guy, etc. So I think that's our big focus for this next year is getting more, really trying to find that ideal niche spot where, the referrals come in at a much higher rate than back to where they were when we were only doing e-commerce SEO.
That's interesting. I think I want to ask this, David, your comment about hypocrisy, and it actually came to mind as we started talking about it. But I think it's not quite right to say it's hypocrisy, right? Because there's services that you guys would probably recommend more in their local marketing rather than SEO or PPC. Like, so as someone that's not an expert in marketing, I want to ask this: why is it that marketing agencies are so heavy on referrals rather than paid ads or SEO being the main source of leads? Can you guys speak to why you think it is that this industry specifically is benefiting most from that?
I think it's because of the level of competition. We all know how to do, Google ads and find the best keywords and meta ads and, and all those type of things. So we kind of know. So when we do decide on a marketing channel that's going to perform really well, as opposed to a plumber, they might not have another plumber that's really doing local SEO, that's doing local Google ads, that's doing all of these little things. They might not have a nice website, so by them doing marketing the right way, they could really become, a dominant, person in their market by doing marketing the correct way. Where for us, we're competing against the other best marketing, everyone knows kind of exactly what to do for the most part. So the level of competition is just much higher. So, referrals and conferences, I think are definitely good for all B2B companies. So, I'm definitely very bullish on conferences in general. I think they're still, in this digital world, people like meeting and seeing each other face to face and things like that. So, which is definitely not a strength of mine. I'm not a conference person, so I definitely need to push myself to do that more. I think with COVID, it was kind of an excuse for me to stop doing them. I haven't gone back to them, but that's definitely something that I want to start doing more of, is more conferences.
I feel like you kind of nailed it. Andrew, David, do you guys have anything to add to that?
No, he's absolutely right. It's we're all competing with the best of the best. So it's like, to get anywhere, like I said, you can't just go in and start bidding on marketing agencies, even marketing agencies in San Diego, you've got companies that have a much bigger budget that are just going to push you down, and the turnip you're trying to squeeze there is going to drop very little juice. So we have to rely on long term growth, and I think that's where starting now with your online as an agency, and but not expecting it, at least from the organic side, to happen, like whatever you tell your clients, quadruple that, because that's when maybe, 2, 3 years from now. But I think we need to start really looking for that long term and just start pounding the pavement. The cool thing is that we have our teams that can do that work for much cheaper than what we have to charge, right? So we get a discount on it technically. Yeah, that's opportunity cost because they're not working on client work. So you got to build that in. But I think just starting and, to Doug's point, really breaking off a niche, and then just slowly sort of pounding that. And then the conferences are great too, because if you're speaking, that's just 20 minutes of content. If you can get somebody to video that, if you're at a booth, you can get a social media person to kind of follow you around, and now you have content for the next quarter, two quarters, maybe the year to pump out, throw that through your socials. And so that's kind of our plan, is just to start and not really expect it to directly be tied to leads for another year, maybe 2 years, but we're looking for the long haul.
And I think referrals work for our industry just because, at least for Matoza, we work with several other partners that are not in our industry. So, for example, we work with a branding agency who sends us work. And so for their clients, it's a natural progression. It's like, oh, I just built this nice website, these great brand guidelines. What's the next step in getting more people onto this brand? And the natural progression is, hey, talk to Andrew, get some SEO, get some paid ads done to get, people in the door, get some leads in the door. So it's a synergistic relationship. And it's, I don't want to say low hanging fruit, but like, because it takes time to develop those relationships. But in terms of like, difficulty versus, competing with all the other competition who are doing the same thing we're doing, it's a lot easier to connect with partners who have clients that need our services, and something that we can help out with.
And to Andrew's point, when I'm in a consultation with a potential client, if they're a referral, they've already heard from the referral, like, trust they're going to do a good job, blah, blah, blah. But, if this is a startup with a brand new site, we can show them case studies and this is who we worked with and go through everything. But at the end of the day, I have to tell them, a brand new website with 0 domain authority, and, even though your keywords look great and everything, like, this is going to take time. So you're going to have to sign up for this monthly retainer for the next year. And we'll do everything we can to show you low-hanging fruit and how things are moving in a good direction. But, to really get you where we want to be is going to take a year. That's a big leap of faith from someone who's never talked to me before. So as opposed to coming from a referral. So I think that's another big part of it, especially with SEO. It's not a quick fix like Google Ads, where we're telling people within 2 months we should be where you're happy. We're telling people depending on the history of the site and the keywords and domain authority, etc. But best case scenario is probably around 6 months. And then for a brand new site, saying you're going to have this monthly retainer for the next year before we really get to a point where we're happy. So referrals are definitely a huge help to kind of, ease their fears of them investing this budget with us.
I love that. That's where my thought was going into with the next question was, there's a lot of agencies that play the game in a way that makes customers a little frustrated, and agencies that are doing it, I'd say, more correctly, deal with the traumatized customers in that sense. So I guess referrals are probably bringing you people that are coming in with a level of trust, and niching down would allow you to kind of generate opportunities that people are finding you to be the expert instead of a generalist, and kind of trusting at that point that you're the right one to make the decision on. So that leads me into the next question, which was, what differentiators have been most effective for your agency in standing out from other agencies? This question does stem from there being a lot of what we consider like cookie cutter agencies that have one solution that they try to plug in for everybody. And how do you stand out from all the other agencies that, like Doug said, are probably doing all the marketing right? They're maybe doing their own SEO, their own paid ads. Someone's referring you and not those other agencies. Why would they choose your agency to refer to? What makes you different?
I'd say we just tell them how it is. I mean, we're not afraid to say no. No, we're not the right fit. No, our services will probably not help you. A lot of those cookie cutter larger agencies will be like, yeah, we'll accept the work. They don't do anything to collect the money, and unfortunately, the client has a bad experience and they lose all that money. So I'd rather work with somebody that would benefit from our services, and we'll be straight up with them. And if it's something that we can't do, we'll say, hey, we have a couple trusted partners that you could talk to, and see if that'll work for you.
Yeah, and to Andrew's point, it gets frustrating if a client goes with like a big agency, because what we know is usually the bigger the agency, the more low level person that's actually going to be working on your account, even like an intern. Like one of our clients just went with 1,000+ person agency, and we met with them for like handoff and all of that, and it's just like these are basically like intern level people that are going to be taking over this account. And so hopefully they come back to us in 6 months. But our big focus has always been on bottom of the funnel. I think as a business owner myself, with SEO, we're not really ever focused on traffic. And content is, especially with AI search, is definitely a huge thing right now, and something we definitely want all of our clients to produce more content. But that's not the point of everything. The point of everything is to support your main service pages, your main collections if you're e-commerce. How are we getting people that are coming in cold with your best keywords and becoming customers? And content and all of traffic and all of that supports all of that, but that's not our main focus. Our main focus is, what at the end of the day is really going to make SEO a huge driver of revenue. To me, there should be a handful of things in Google Analytics that are driving a lot of revenue to your company. And they seem pretty universal, brand, SEO, email, Google ads, meta ads, maybe SMS, but those things should all be driving revenue, and SEO should be pretty equal with those other revenue channels. So that's our focus, is really, how is this going to help drive revenue, bottom of the funnel? And at the end of the day, with SEO, we can't control revenue. We can only lead the horses to water. So, we're really proving that by top 3 keywords and traffic value and things like that. But at the end of the day, if we're getting 1,000 people to your site for your most important keyword and service, and you were getting 500, that should be a substantial increase in revenue for your company.
Perfect. Yeah. Our differentiator is that we were able to build an offshore team. So we have teammates basically all over the globe, some down in Argentina, Croatia, Philippines, um, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and we were just able to, over the course of time, just really collect A players. They charge much less for us. So we're able to come in and with the same quality, because everything comes through our US based strategists. And so those are where our strategists are. Those are the ones that are mostly communicating with the clients. So it's a lot like a bigger agency where they've got a strategist and then maybe a specialist, and then to Doug's point, maybe an intern, and that kind of work goes through that team and then it gets delivered. But the quality for the most part can be kept up depending on the agency. The ones that I worked with that had that structure, they're not massive, not 1,000 people. I'm talking about like the 800, the 100 person agency. Those ones can still keep good quality by kind of using some of the junior folks to do some of the lower level tasks and such. So that's the model we kept. But instead of going low level, we keep our team that are a little bit more junior overseas, and that way we can basically pass that savings on to our clients. And a lot of our clients, to Andrew's point, are other agencies. And so a lot of the referrals are mostly based from them, and or they're just passing us work. And so we're able to do really, really good, super high quality work pass it to them, they can still charge a premium on top of it. And so everybody wins. The client wins because they're getting the great work. The agency that sent us the job is, they're making some margin there. Our business is flourishing and it's happy. And then our team overseas is happy because they're making more than their peers there. So it all kind of works out.
Yeah, and David, we're actually looking into that right now. One of our clients, we didn't realize they're an enterprise client when we were onboarding them. They're in the middle of a site migration, but now we've requested a larger budget after the migration's finished. So depending on if they approve that larger budget, we're going to be at full bandwidth for the SEO team. So basically I think we're ready. I've actually already been researching. I think South Africa is ideal if I can find A+ talent there. But yeah, I might reach out to you and ask some advice about all of that.
100%. Yeah, our whole business model is built that way. And we've been able to, really cultivate that. We can talk through it, and I can definitely help you out and, help you build your team, or we can just talk about it's already built. We're set up to kind of work with agencies just like that. And like I said, our price point comes in. We charge based off of the hour for the people that are working. So it comes in at like a bunch of different rates, but then if we boil that all down with strategists and everything included, it usually comes out to like 59 an hour, which is, most agencies charge 100, 110 at this level. The larger agencies are, 150, 180, some of them charging 200, 250. So we just keep that price point and it works for everybody.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. We can keep everything high level with me overseeing everything, and then our US team still in charge of the most important things, but we can have this A+ strategist from somewhere with a low cost of living like South Africa, and we could probably add on a substantial amount of work that's being done on the account for the same pricing. So
I'd love to have the conversation too, if you guys don't mind.
Absolutely. And then it also allows us to scale. So that's how we were able to get not just into SEO, but we can do content, video, we can do social media. Basically, we're doing email, we're doing skip tracing now. So it's like we were an SEO agency that now is just able to do everything because we've got the strategists in house, a lot of them US based, and then we can just build that strategy around whatever discipline that they're best at, and then and it's all about processes. So I know, one of our points was you got to get the processes right. If you get that right and the training, then this thing can scale. And that's how another way that we are able to get so much work is that it differently than I think one of the negative ways of saying, yes, we can do that is like we actually can do that. And we know have a process to do it. I might not be able to personally know how to do mass email scales, but I know how to find the people that can, and I know how to build the teams around them that can then scale that. So that's kind of where our strengths are.
Final question for you guys. I'm going to skip a couple of them just for the sake of time here, but how are you currently leveraging AI in your agency's operations? We found that a lot of agencies are using tools. David, you said you're building out a tool. Customers are requesting the tools, but there's been a question as to how valuable that data is at this point in time for the customer, because it's changing so quickly, or it doesn't necessarily equal revenue. It's just trends, maybe branding trends that we see long-term value in. But how are you able to convert this into tangible return on investment for customers from the AI side of the optimization that you're doing for customers? Or are you doing anything from the AI optimization that you think is impactful for your customers today that'll have long-term impact?
I can go first. So we've got 2 tools that we use now. We've got 2 partnerships. One that we're using for AI audits, which are very helpful for clients to see how they're growing. More for consultations, it's really helpful to get a snapshot. For actual clients, actually like digging into analytics more than anything else, and seeing where it's actually growing and driving revenue with the different AI search functions. And then we also have another partner that's doing AI content, which seems to be going really well. So the funny thing with the AI content is we're having the same problems, the exact same problems we used to have with human writers, where it usually takes a month or 2 for everyone on the team to be happy with the writing. But within a couple months, as long as the client doesn't have too complicated of something, if their product is something a human can understand, then the AI can usually produce really good content, and they can give us feedback. This is the tone of voice we like. Don't do this. Don't do this. Do this more, etc. And then usually within a month or two, the AI content is really at a place where clients are happy, and then we're recommending at least 8 new posts per month for blog posts, and are linking back to all their most important pages, etc. So some want to go all the way up to 20. We have someone in the pipeline right now that wants to do 30 a month. But anyways, so those are the two things that are really going well with us. And we are seeing with the ROI part of it, you can see analytics, not only the growth every month being substantial, but the actual revenue coming in if the backend's set up correctly to track that. So I think one of our clients, it was all the way up to, I think ChatGPT was all the way up to, I forget off the top of my head, I think it was like number 7 in traffic and revenue for them. And then Perplexity was like number 12, and Gemini was like number 17. So, and then another one of our clients, they're up to number 2 overall among all competitors, not direct competitors, but all competitors in AI search for brand visibility. So the only person outranking them is they're in the health bar space. So the only person outranking them is RX Bar. So yeah, we're definitely seeing really great results.
I'm going to ask a question to expand on that. What percentage of the leads are coming from AI overviews versus traditional marketing that you've had in place before AI? Like
it's still, that's the one thing that, with AI, we have to, the consultations I feel like are a little difficult right now because we have to explain that this is still 80, 90% SEO. So the clients that get that and know that AI search is part of SEO, not a standalone thing, are great. But we'll have consultations where they want to have, do an audit and all of those things, and they'll be like, oh, well, we already have an SEO team. We're really happy with them. And it's like, well, we can't just double the work. We're going to be doing 80% of the same thing. So, and if they're not doing things we're not happy with, that's not going to work. So that's part of it. And then the other part of it is the traffic, for the most part, is still pretty minuscule compared to everything else. So I think I think Google is still like 92% of the traffic, and it's more search traffic than ever was on Google in the last year, up, I think, a good percentage. So, but obviously I think we all know that we're using AI search more and more, especially for long questions, very top of the funnel type stuff, and that's where the market's heading. And even with it being a small percentage of overall traffic and revenue, it's growing substantially every month. It'll be up like 1,000% or something. So every month it's growing strong, but overall it is definitely still a small percentage. But I think the last conference I went to was a Klaviyo conference in Boston right before COVID. And one of the guys was going on and on stage about TikTok. And like, I just didn't like TikTok. And I was like, I'm not going to get on there right now. He was like, everyone needs to get on TikTok. Like, I'm going to post this video and I guarantee you it's going to get like all this engagement tomorrow. And I look back on that, I was like, oh, if I would have just jumped in on TikTok right then, like it would be crazy. So anyway, so I think we would all be very surprised if AI search isn't, in that top tier of marketing channels. So how much that'll stay directly connected completely with SEO, or how much it'll be on its own thing, is yet to be seen. But so far, it definitely seems like 80-90% of it is that it's part of an overall, really good SEO strategy.
Hey guys, I'm going to give Andrew and David, you have like a minute or two to give me your thoughts on like how you're utilizing AI. We're going to be running out of time here shortly. It stinks because I have a million more questions I want to ask as you guys are answering things, but we have to wrap things up. So go ahead. You got a couple minutes each to tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, on the content marketing side, we obviously leverage ChatGPT and other AI tools to help with that. We've been doing content marketing for years, before it became a popular thing. But instead of spending all the time researching, going through all these pages on Google and trying to find the right information and verifying it, ChatGPT, Perplexity, those kind of tools help us gather that data much more efficiently. So that way we get to the actual meat and potatoes of creating the content much faster. So in terms of efficiency and time saving and just verifying all the facts, it has helped us tremendously.
Perfect. Yeah. So for us, we built the tool specifically for this, just to be able to measure what's happening with AI, with your visibility. What we're able to do with that data is to understand not just where you're falling in the mix. The way that we look at it is there's so much data that can be coming in and out of these chatbots, and we're not trying to say, okay, we know everything that's happening, around your brand for this chatbot, for Perplexity, for Google Gemini. That's 100% impossible. And I think there are tools that are going to try, like SEMrush and the Ahrefs of the world, who are used to like a database and a bank of specific keywords, and then they just hammer the engines all day long to see where everyone's ranking. I don't think that's going to scale with AI, just because of the conversational nature of it. They're trying, and I've started using the tools, and I'm like, yeah, they're not there yet, and they who knows when they'll get there. But for us, we're going the opposite. It's like, let's take a very specific set of prompts at a very specific part of the conversion funnel, right when the user is in that decision phase. So they could be talking about your brand and asking sort of generic, high level information type questions that we used to write blogs about to try and get traffic that way and build brand. That's all happening now in the chatbots. And yeah, it's pulling from that content. I'm not saying don't write that content, but we need to really understand that you're not going to get cited as much. There's not going to be as much traffic coming to you. You're not going to be able to build as much brand as we did before. Um, I would say really, really focus on that first party research with data backed. Anything you can do to get your engineers involved in your content process, that's going to go a long way. But anyway, coming back to that funnel, we want to ask the engine when they're about ready to say, what are some good recommendations for some brands that do XYZ, that solve my XYZ problem? Those are the prompts that we are keying in on. We're taking 10 of those non-brand prompts, sending that out to the engines, and then seeing who is playing in the space when they get recommended at that point. And then from there, how high up on that list are you recommended? And it actually does give us the ability to start to quote unquote rank how probable your brand is at being recommended in the top 10. And from there we can see all of the citations, so the links and the digital PR that's been working for those brands, and then we can build a PR strategy out of that data. So that's how we're making it more efficient. Now, wrapping that all back up, have we been able to take snapshots from the beginning, the middle, and the end and show ROI to our clients? If we were able to do that right now, we would be killing the industry. No one can do that yet. It's way too new. All we're saying is we're biting this part off, and we're saying we think this is where it's at, and we'll get back to you on ROI, because we're going to start doing this stuff, and our clients are happy to invest. They're not investing a ton, they're investing some. A lot of it is still the 80% SEO, 100%. And so we're going to start measuring it. And so come back to us next year.
Oh, did he cut off?
Yeah, he did. Come back to us next year. We heard it. Yeah. Hey guys, this has been great. I wish we had more time to continue the conversation. I have a few follow-up questions I would love to ask you guys, but for the sake of your time and what you've given us, this has been another episode of SEO on Air. Thanks for joining us.